So we've decided to come sit with the queen, a very contented queen of Djuma. This is a female leopard named Karula. For those of you who don't know, Karula means the peaceful one. And you can see she's got a nice big fat belly. She managed to catch an adult female impala last night, who would have also been pregnant, so she would have got quite a lot of eating done, and there's still quite a lot of the carcass left, and she's put it up in a jackalberry tree to keep away from hyenas and other marauding predators such as lions. And the other thing is that if those wild dogs are around, sitting here quietly, if they have become separated from each other, it's a good spot to listen for contact calls. That wonderful woo call, sort of a woo, 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 that they call to each other when they've been separated. So it's unusual for a leopard to make a kill in such an open area, and this whole area is very short grass, very open, so quite difficult to hunt in, especially if you're an ambush predator, or a stalk and ambush predator like a leopard. But the reason she would have been able to do that last night is that incredible storm, that wind and lightning and rain would have covered her scent and covered the sounds that she might while she was moving, and also it would have impaired the impala's senses dramatically. So that's why she was probably able to catch them out in this really open area. So guys, Andrew's just told me there's a hyena running into this area from the north. So we're just going to see what happens. It's obviously smelt the carcass. There we go. There's Howard, the hyena. And Karula's now spotted it, the hyena. But the kill's quite high, so no chance of the hyena managing to steal that from her. But we all know how patient hyenas can be, and that's one of the reasons they're so successful. Is that it will wait underneath that tree for Karula to drop tidbits. Oh, there we go. See, it's already found a bit of stomach content by the looks of things. So the kill is very safe up in the tree. And the undesirable bits that the queen did not want to eat, she has discarded to the riffraff. And hyenas fulfill such an important ecological... Oh! Spraying everywhere. Such an important ecological niche. Now, I'm sure hyena's wondering, where's the leopard? Hasn't seen Karula yet. Sometimes hyenas start to sort of think they're more agile than they really are, and I have seen them try leap to grab a carcass. I think that one knows that that is way too high to attempt. And the hyena's going to move off behind us. Karula's head's up now. Sniffy, sniffy. And Karula's just watching the hyena quite intently. I'm quite sure that hyena's not going to move too far. Karula's had a long life, so she's quite adept at dealing with pesky hyenas. And she'll be able to escape from that hyena quite easily. She's staring really intently at that hyena. He's still feeding on what looks to be a bit of the stomach contents, or the stomach itself. It's gone back below the tree. Imagine how terrible it must be for a hyena. Always be underneath a leopard kill and look up at that tantalizing meat that's so close, yet just so far. Specifically when female leopards have cubs and youngsters, they have far more success in scavenging off leopards because the cubs are not as experienced at handling and feeding in trees, and they often drop the carcasses. And I've seen hyenas wait for 3 or 4 days underneath the leopard carcass just for those tiny bits of bones and scraps. So it's probably been quite difficult for the hyenas to smell after all the rain, and that's probably why they haven't found this carcass yet. Now, we've had a little bit of a dry spell. The wind is coming through from the south. The hyena den is in those drainage systems to the north, and I'm sure it just picked up. Oh, there we go. Karula's up. The hyena has spotted Karula. She's having a scratch. Now, it's quite interesting. Sometimes hyenas will take this opportunity to try and chase the leopard. Other times, they'll just ignore them. But here comes the hyena charging in towards the queen, and it's going to be interesting to see whether she tries to hiss. Oh, the hyena's going a little bit. There we go. And you can see he's decided not to pursue her. So the reason for that is he's probably just coming to inspect to see if there isn't any more carcass here or any other pieces of the kill. And having found nothing, oh, interesting. It looks like the female hyena who's got the scar on her back, and she's the one with the youngest cub at the moment. Is it her? Oh, I can't really see from here. Now, she's got a very distinct scar on her left hand side of her back.
Down now.
Just checking around everywhere to make sure that there's no other predator or other prey around, little bits that might have been dropped during the kill.
Go ahead. Just got in here.
She's just watching the hyena. It doesn't pose a serious threat to her on the ground, and she knows she's fast enough and agile enough to escape. And she knows her kill is really, really safe up in that tree, well out of the hyena's reach. Look at the hyena, quickly. The hyena is now on its back legs trying to climb up or get as high as it possibly can at the tree, and definitely reaching above its means. Hyenas are incredibly powerful animals with incredible stamina, but blessed with absolutely zero tree climbing ability. What are you up to? There you go. You can actually see the little pile of leaves there. That's probably where the hyena dug out that stomach content from. As leopards and lions, there we go, you can see, will often bury the stomach contents to try and mask the smell. And I'm quite sure that's what she's done there. And he's just looking for little bits of bone and meat that she might have forgotten or been too small to be of interest to her, and feeding off those. And that's what hyenas are so good at. They utilize every little scrap of food. She's sat up now, still watching and listening, not so perturbed. Sometimes this type of behavior will induce her to actually go feed a little bit on the carcass, just because there is that potential threat of competition. There we go. See, sometimes it does spur them on. She's just having her ablutions now, and we'll see if she moves forward. And while we've got her here, Aaron is wondering, how old is Karula? Karula's about 13 years old, which is towards the older side for a leopard. Okay. Just watch her. We might move shortly if I think she's going to go up the tree. We'll get in position. The hyena is now behind the camera, just doing a big loop, still checking. And guys, don't forget to take screenshots of the stuff you see, and you can pop them on the SafariLive Facebook page. You can also just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter and share all the pictures you take with the screenshots on these live safaris. So this hyena is now right in front of us. I'm just going to wait a few seconds, see if it decides to come through back towards where Karula is. You can see the hyena moving through there. Karula's lying just over there. It's testing the wind. It looks like the hyena is going to move off, and while the hyena does that and we reposition, Scotty's got a feathered friend for you guys to have a look at, and we'll be back with you a little later.
So some crazy interactions over with the leopard and hyena. Awesome stuff, and I must say I am jealous of you guys. It's not often you get to see those two interacting with one another, although we are also incredibly fortunate where we're sitting right here. And this is a Senegal lapwing, and it's incubating some eggs. That's why it's lying down. And would you believe that this is its nest? Just a very, very shallow scrape in the ground in the middle of this open grassy clearing with absolutely nothing to protect those eggs. And we've been monitoring this nest for also quite some time. It's an afternoon of nest checking. There are 4 very well camouflaged, cryptically colored eggs underneath her. And it was actually James who found this nest. And the way he found it, he was driving past one night, and as he got close by, he held out its wings to indicate that A, it was there, and B, not to drive over it. And it would have stood its ground with its wings out had the vehicle had have progressed towards it. And what they'll also do, they're incredibly clever, these lapwings. They will feign an injury, like a broken wing, and they'll hobble off if any predator does get close to this nest, and the predator will naturally start taking a huge interest in this injured and easy prey. And once it's lured the prey far enough away from the nest, it simply flies off, leaving the predator bemused and away from the nest. They'll also stand their ground when large herds of buffalo, for example, move through the area, holding out their wings, squawking, making sure that those eggs don't get crushed. And I'm just going to start the car now. Keep a close look on it because she may stand up. Oh, I don't want to scare her away. You may have got a glimpse of the eggs there. Now she's ruffled back in to get them nice and warm and comfortable. Can you believe it? We are going to continue now. I don't want to cause her any distress. And aren't we so lucky? There's a little glimpse of her, but we will get to see the nest and the eggs when she's not around. They are left from time to time unattended. And at least slowly by slowly we can get her used to us by stopping in for little breaks like that. And hopefully we'll actually get to see the tiny little chicks. But we'll have to be lucky with that. Anyway, we'll keep checking and we're going to send you back to Brent and the leopard.
So we're still with Karula. That hyena's kept moving off. We can't see the hyena at the moment, but I'm sure it will be back. And she's just changed her sleeping position to the other side of the log. And I was hoping that that hyena might prompt her to go have a feed. But alas, no such luck yet. Hey, Firm Tom, make your way. So, quite a lot of our regular viewers will know about a project we are assisting with the Panthera organization, which deals with the research and conservation of big cats and other carnivores all over Africa and Asia and the Americas. And we've been collecting leopard scat for this. And Donna is wondering, have we collected Karula's scat already? We have. Karula her scat has been collected and handed in already. It's quite nice to have her close to camp again. And stationary close to camp. It's been a while, I think, since we've had Karula on a nice big kill like this. See how she's even alert now, even though she's resting with a full belly. See how those ears picked up when the Franklin started alarm calling? That was the general direction the hyena went. Maybe they got a fright from the hyena. Oh, apologies, everyone. I said Karula I thought she was turning 13 next year. She's not. She's turning 12 next year, so in March. And thanks to Ellen, MJ, and John for that information. See, watch, even with her eyes closed, her ears will be moving ever so slightly, listening to everything around her. It almost looks like that head's becoming quite heavy with that full belly, and she might be going to pop down and lie flat again. And you'll notice something quite interesting when we had that hyena here, and hyenas are social animals. And I'm sure a few of you might wonder why the hyena didn't call the other hyenas. So hyenas are quite smart, and it'll realize that, especially with a carcass like this that's so well put up in the tree, the only food it's going to get is a little tidbits normally, so little bits of bone and meat that fall down while the leopard's feeding, and there's not that much to go around. So in that type of situation, the hyena would rather feed itself and not share with the other hyenas. If for example, there was lions on a larger carcass, and the hyenas would call in for reinforcements. Oh, there we go. Time to get comfy again. And this is almost idyllic for her. She's got a lot of meat. It's nice and cool, so she's not uncomfortable with that full belly while digesting. Just having a quick look who's here, and then back to snooze. So I wasn't here this morning. I was out in tracking team, and we're just going to swing across to the jackalberry that the kill is in and have a quick look at it. There's a couple of people wondering about the kill. Ellen and Kay seem to think it's quite a bit higher than it was this morning, and from what I'm chatting to Scotty, it seems to be she's lifted it. And Steve's wondering, well, how high is the kill? That kill is possibly to a good 4.5 meters, maybe a bit more off the ground. So well out of a spotted hyena's range. Some quite interesting leopard movements recently, and it seems like Karula has been moving more and more to what is a traditional home range or territory, which is around, basically centered around Djuma, and it's been a while since we've seen her regularly in this home range, so it is good to have her back. We've had her back quite a bit over the last week or so really exciting. Hopefully she hangs around. So, as we mentioned, Karula will be turning 12 next year. And Pamela is wondering, is this elderly for a wild cat? In domestic cats, that she would be sort of approaching old age, but not quite there yet. It's reasonably old for a wild cat. For a leopard, the oldest leopards ever recorded have been in the Sabi Sands, and they've lived to about 17, 18 years old, which is extremely old for a leopard. You probably find, I suppose you could probably 13 and onwards, you consider her old. So yes, approaching old age, but not quite an old lady yet. I just heard those lions in the distance. Those Birmingham boys, by the sounds of where that call was coming from, still a long way from where we're sitting now. And you just heard a low in the distance. So hopefully they are on their way west this evening. So there's with Karula, as always, there's a lot of discussion about whether she's pregnant or not, or why she's not falling pregnant, etc., etc. And the nature is beautiful, is wondering, is she not falling pregnant because she's old? Now, obviously, like in most animals, the older you get, the less likely chance of falling pregnant, but she's by no means there yet. I know of a female leopard called the 3-4 female who had a cub when she was 15. So not impossible at all. I think she's probably got at least 1 or 2 litters left in her, depending on whether the cubs are male or female. Female leopards put a lot more effort into raising male cubs, and they will stay with the females for generally a lot longer, not always. The youngest I've ever heard of a male cub becoming independent of its mother was 9 months, and it survived through to adulthood. But normally male leopards will stay 2 to 2.5 years with their mom, sometimes even a little bit longer. And females are normally independent by about 14 months, so just over a year. And there's quite a few different reasons for this. And when I was at the Panthera lecture, there's some very interesting sort of theories put forward. One of the reasons that they spend so much time with the male cub, not only obviously is it a bit more difficult for the male cub to set out and find its territory, and it's going to take a few years, but also the best chance of her DNA being passed on to multiple other animals is through males, because they will mate with multiple females, whereas a female cub will only take that one set of DNA, and she will only pass on that one set to her cubs, whereas the males will pass on her DNA to multiple different females. So very, very interesting stuff. And also what female leopards do to make it easier for female cubs, even though that they do become independent at quite a bit younger, is that they will sort of move out of a section of their core home range or core territory and sort of bequeath it to the female progeny. And so it makes it a bit of an easier start in life for a female cub, not having to fight other females for territory. But what this does is, over time, it erodes at the mother's territory, and it eventually, especially as the leopards start becoming older, their core territory becomes smaller and smaller, and quite often pushed into areas where they've got to fight other female leopards, and that obviously you don't want to be fighting other leopards when you're a little bit older. You'd prefer to be doing that while you're in your prime. So really, really fascinating stuff. And it's amazing how nature's adapted to look after all these things. So as a female leopard's getting older, and probably not in breeding prime, her core territory has already been diminished by her offspring, and so while she's on her way out, she's not utilizing the best areas of her old territory, and the younger leopards that are more likely to succeed with breeding, and that will take over those areas, and they're generally related. So very, very interesting stuff. So Peggy thinks Karula looks quite a lot whiter now. Could this be from her age? Well, leopards do sometimes get paler when they get older, or they get darker. It just depends on the individual. But Peggy, I don't think she could have dropped a few shades, but it also could be the light. Today it's very grey and very flat light, so it might be quite difficult to see. So we're gonna send you off to Scotty and see what he's been up to. No ways, we've just had something pop onto the scene here. To the right there, Van. And I wonder if you weren't chasing these impala around. This is exactly where the impala were seeming distressed. And
And maybe you guys can tell me if this is the same hyena that went and spent some time with Karula. I'm not sure if that hyena is still there or if this is a different one. Oh no, the bird just did its call again. It's all happening here. Anyway, we will be able to show it to you, but we are going to make the most of this beautiful scene with the hyena coming straight up to us. Looks like a youngster, still in perfect condition. And it's literally walking right up to us. Sorry, no food here. And even if we had some, we wouldn't feed it to you. That would be naughty. What have you seen? What gave you a fright back there? I can't see anything back there, so I'm not too sure what that was. Oh! I think it's going to pop back around onto the other side. Oh no, it's going on in circles, which is making VM and my life difficult each time. VM thinks it's going to pop out that side. It changes direction. And maybe what I'll do is then turn around the vehicle just to enjoy a few last views of it. Judy would like to know whether it's frogs and toads we're hearing. Yes, mainly frogs, not so many toads that I can hear at the moment, Judy. But also crickets, katydids. Katydids, a kind of green insect. And great to see this hyena doing what it does best, sniffing around for an easy meal. They've got an incredible sense of smell. And they also have great stamina, just like the wild dogs that we were fruitlessly searching for earlier. And it's the combination of stamina and their strong sense of smell that allows them to move huge distances and also successfully seek out meals and also food. Now, we are going to stop, and we are not going to take the camera off this black-bellied bustard until we see it call. And Barbara in Texas would like to know, how big is this black-bellied bustard? Barbara, I would say it's about 2.5 chickens. But its legs will probably be about 12 inches long. And that will give you an idea of how big the rest of its body is. But yeah, I'd say 10 to 12 inches in length would be its legs length up to the base of its body. And it probably weighs around 4 pounds, maybe 5 pounds at the most. Oh, I think it's getting ready to do the call. There's the little champagne pop, oops, at the end. And isn't that a comical call? We're going to be seeing it a lot more in the summer, but I think that is the first time we've got to share it with you this summer. Cool stuff. It's not only about the big things as much as we love seeing the leopards and the lions. These interesting little things in nature are so interesting, especially because we haven't seen it for so long. Since this time last year, or maybe January last year or February last year when their calling would have subsided, we haven't seen them doing this. We've seen them, but they've been silent. So good to hear them talking again. Thanks very much to Gerda, Barbara and Gail for confirming that this was in fact a different hyena to the one that stumbled upon Karula. So thank you very much for that. And it's tricky business knowing which hyena is which, because there's quite a few of them and they all look very similar. There is obviously a way of distinguishing them, but it's not easy, and none of us have mastered that skill yet, but I'm guessing that it could well be from the same clan as the hyena that you saw with Karula is from. Because interesting how hyenas act differently in different parts of Africa, and the hyena in the Sabi Sands typically move alone or move alone. They don't move as a clan, and that's because they've almost specialized in either A, hunting for themselves, or B, stealing from leopards. There's a high density of leopards here, and leopards are safer and easier to steal from than lions are. And the kind of hyena over many years have probably realized that and through default adapted into being professional stealers of leopard kills. Whereas in other parts of Africa, you'll have massive clans of hyena that specialize in chasing off lion from their prey. Just an interesting example of how different the animals will react in different parts of Africa, even the same species. I'm just going to stop here. We can actually see the hyena. It's just running down the road in front of us. Take us to the wild dogs. Be careful though if you get there, because last time I saw a hyena and wild dogs, it was fearing for its life, and the wild dogs were teaching it a serious lesson. That though was a pack of 10 adult wild dogs. This pack, if it is in fact wild dogs in the area, there's probably only 3, or it is only 3 adults. So 3 adults taking on a hyena will not be nearly as successful as 10. But I think they'd still have a go at this one. Even though they're much smaller than hyena, they are highly ferocious and command a lot of respect out here. Now this is the area that we were searching for the apparent wild dogs earlier. The impala were running from our left-hand side of the road down towards where we were with the laughing dove's nest. And this hyena is now heading in that very same direction. And who knows, maybe it can smell a carcass. Or, like I said, maybe it was the hyena that was chasing these impala around. Even though they are scavengers and mainly portrayed as scavengers, they can and will hunt for themselves. At this time of year, the hyena are clever. They'll know that there'll be some pregnant female impala who... What have you seen? What have you seen in there, little hyena? Maybe it's just cautious. Maybe it's just heard a rustle and it's just making sure it doesn't get itself into trouble. Oh, interesting. Checking both sides of the road. As I was saying, though, they are proficient hunters when need be. And they will know that there will be pregnant female impalas that are very heavy, getting close to calving, and chasing them down is certainly a viable option. So maybe that's what was happening earlier. I would love to know what's going through that hyena's head. Well, Barbara's just asked a good question. She'd like to know if it was this specific hyena that was attacked by the wild dogs about a week ago. Now, Barbara, looking at it, I don't think so. The hyena that was attacked by the wild dogs would have some signs of injury on its lower back, where the wild dog were doing the predominance of the biting. It was trying to sit down, protecting its rear end, which is the most attacked end. When a pack, or when most group animals are attacking an individual, some members of the pack will keep the dangerous end occupied, the dangerous end of the hyena obviously being the mouth, while the other dogs run in and bite it on the rump and around the spine and around the Achilles tendon if it can. But the hyena cleverly was sitting down, so it couldn't, the wild dogs couldn't get to those tendons, which, had they been allowed to, they could have caused it severe instantaneous injury. But this one doesn't look injured. So, Barbara, I don't think it is the same one. I also remember the other one being slightly bigger and older looking than this individual. So I do not think it is the same one, but it's certainly thinking about something in here. It's wonderful to see. also so seldom get to spend time with the hyena and follow them around like this, so this is a real treat. They're usually moving too quick for us to keep up with them. So we usually only see them when they're stationary at the den site, which we don't know where it is at the moment. So their den site has been shifted, that moves around. Currently we don't have a clue where it is. But usually that's the only place we get to see them. So this behavior and this sighting is probably one of my best hyena sightings in a very long time, because you're just getting to see it go about its usual business as if we are not even here. Oh, using that powerful nose again. Wonderful, another hyena's calling, get the volume up. We so seldomly get to hear this, and if we're really lucky, this one may return the call, which will be great because we are so close to it. It's continued walking off though now. Come on, call for us, please. Yes, it's going to. This. I'm just going to keep still. Absolutely awesome. One more and then we'll chase after it. Okay, well, that has been a long time coming. We even got to see it do that first call. It's something that I've never been able to share with you guys. And isn't it wonderful to not only hear it, but to see it? They hold their head low as they call almost into the ground. It ran down this road here. Let's see if we can find what's going on. This again is exactly where all those impala came running out of earlier. So maybe the wild dog were in here, and maybe the other hyena that we heard calling first. Tracks are still going down the road here. So maybe there is in fact some kind of action unfolding. No, I don't know where the tracks go now. I doubt I'm going to be able to follow them in this low light. Let's carry on down this road. They can cover ground very quickly.